Hello, everybody. Today we were going to be going over a non-DACA resources workshop presented by the Dream Center. My name is Daniela. I'm the manager for the Dream Center. My pronouns are she, ella, and I oversee the Dream Center, and I am here to serve you. So if you ever have any questions or concerns that you're experiencing on campus, you can always reach out to me and I can help you to the best of my ability. And I'll pass it on over to Irvin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Irvin. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the Dream Center Supervisor. So I supervise the student assistants and I help coordinate and plan our events such as this.
So today, this is just a little bit of an overview of an agenda of what we're going to be discussing. We're going to go over some learning objectives, things that we would want you all to take away from today's workshop. We're going to be defining some key terms for some individuals who may not be too familiar with some of them. We're going to go very briefly into independent contracting and entrepreneurship, as well as ITINs. And then at the end, we're going to discuss some potential opportunities that would be available to you as individuals who may not have access to work authorization.
So our objectives for today is for you guys to have a better understanding of what independent contracting and entrepreneurship is. And alongside that, we also want to provide different opportunities for leadership positions or paid opportunities that are both on and off campus, and overall give you guys a better overview of the opportunities that are available for you guys. I forgot. Throughout the presentation, you're gonna be hearing us say non-DACA a lot. So we want to define that so you guys have an idea of what we mean when we say like non-DACA. So first of all, let's say what DACA is. DACA is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And it was passed by the Obama administration back in 2012, and it provides a 2-year work permit and protection from deportation to certain individuals. As of now, no new DACA applications are being accepted, only renewals. So when we mean non-DACA, we're talking about folks who don't have a social security number or work authorization. There are other ways for you to have a social security number or work authorization outside of DACA. And the information being provided here still is applicable, but there you have other options. And if you're one of those folks who does have a social security number, you can touch base with us at a later time, and we can go over like the opportunities that you guys have. So one of the main ways that folks who don't have a social security number or work authorization can work is through independent contracting. Independent contracting is basically you having a contract with a company to provide them with a service or a good. So a common example of this is like film editors or interpreters. So if you're getting your, if you're doing ASL interpreting, you can fill out a contract with a court or an agency where you would just, perform the job for a certain amount of time and then get paid. Also for film and TV editing, it's the same thing. You can be working on a project and that would be your contract, and at the end of the contract you no longer will be working unless the company decides to continue with your service. They can extend your contract. Another way I like to describe independent contracting is working with the company but not for the company. So what I mean by that is like you can work with the company, like let's say Disney, you can work with Disney as like an animator, but you wouldn't be working for Disney and would not be considered like a Disney employee, meaning you wouldn't really be able to get like the benefits that come with being like a formal employee of Disney. But independent contracting is still a good way to go around like formal employment. And then independent contracting also does not have to be like job with a big corporation, you guys could do it with like your side hustles. So in case you're like a DJ or something, you could be an independent contractor and sign contracts to be a DJ at certain events, and you could get paid through independent contracting. Next up is entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is like setting up your own business and running like your own business or company. With this, the difference between independent contracting and entrepreneurship is that like if you own your own company, you don't really need to like be making contracts, like that's all on your own. You would do that through establishing like your own business, and all you need would be an ITIN to be able to like provide the government with like tax information. And as you can even do like digital like entrepreneurship. You could be selling stuff online. You could be selling stuff through Etsy or other websites that sell online. And all you would have to do is like get a permit that allows you to sell through the internet, and then you can sell like goods or that you make or your art. As an entrepreneur, you could also go to like different festivals and sell your art or anything that you make, like candles or clothing. So that's the differences between independent contracting and entrepreneurship. Also, I want to mention, as an independent contractor, you could establish like your own corporation or LLC, and that helps you when it comes to making the contracts with the different companies, because it wouldn't be like the company contracting an individual, is like a company contracting like the corporation.
I also want to add, for entrepreneurship, we have an example of the Sparks Immigrants Rising. So Immigrants Rising was providing grants for individuals to start their entrepreneurship business. They were $5,000 and $10,000 grants, depending on where you are in your process. Currently, they're not accepting applications, but know that it is a resource potentially down the line once they reopen the applications. But know that the application is very lengthy, and this opportunity is mainly for folks who already have an idea of what their established business is, and what it is that you're going to be doing, and how it is that you're going to be selling your goods, and what items you're going to need in order to create your product and your company. If you're interested in this or want to know a little bit more information about Spark, feel free to connect with us, and we can definitely send you some information. So Irvin mentioned an ITIN. So ITIN stands for Individual Tax Identification Number. So technically, anybody can apply for an ITIN. An ITIN is a tax processing number issued to you by the IRS. So ITINs are issued to individuals not eligible for a social security number in order to report their earnings to the IRS. Basically, so you can tell the IRS, this is how much money I've been earning, and be taxed on it. It does allow you to open up some bank accounts depending on certain banks. If you have questions about that, again, touch base with us on the side, because it definitely varies bank by bank and even region sometimes. But an ITIN does allow you to conduct a certain amount of business. But I do want to make it very clear that an ITIN does not authorize you to work in the United States. However, it is a 9-digit number, same as a social security number, but again, it is very, very different from a social security number. So if you ever are filling out documents and it asks you for a social security number, don't ever put down your ITIN, because again, this could potentially lead to some issues down the line, because it's not a valid social security number. Again, it's a tax ID number, which is very different. In the event that you have done this, as long as it's in good faith, usually it doesn't get you into any trouble. But again, just make sure that to never put your ITIN in place of a social security number. But when getting issued an ITIN, basically, we can go on to the next slide and we can go into the different ways. So, let's go on to the next slide real quick. Okay. So when you get assigned an I-10, it does allow you to be able to be contracted in order to be paid for an independent contracting gig. Similar to what or some of the things that Irvin mentioned before. So for example, the DJing. If somebody wants to contract you to be a DJ, they would usually just be able to give you the W-9 form. And this would allow you to be able to again, be paid through a check or however it is that the corporate or the folks that are hiring you are going to be paying you through. It's just very crucial for you to fill out this information correctly. So if you look on part one, at the bottom, after you put in all your information, it says social security number or employer identification number. And again, this technically would go under employer identification number, which would be your ITIN. At the top of the paperwork, you would just have to fill out all your information. And there's a couple of options. Maybe it's a little hard for you to see the form fully, but you can Google it. You can literally Google IRS W-9 and it'll allow you to zoom in a little bit more into the different nuances. But some of the check boxes that we traditionally see for folks who are independent contractors are the first three, which would be individual / sole proprietor, single member LLC, or corporations, depending if you already have your company established. If you do, then this form would be filled out a little differently, but again, it would still allow you to be paid. But if you're being paid as an individual, then you would check the first box. And again, it just really varies. But this is one of the forms that traditionally, whenever you're being contracted by a certain company, you would need to complete in order to issue payment. And then we can go on to the next slide real quick. And which brings us to the 590 form. Similar to the W-9, same thing, where you fill out your information and you give details of who's being issued this payment. Who should I make out my check to? Is this a corporation? Is this an individual? Is this somebody who's just, again, doing a side hustle for me? Which again, is definitely possible. It's just a matter of whoever is contracting you to develop this contract and give you these forms in order to issue you the payment. And again, that's what an ITIN gives you the opportunity to do. An ITIN provides you the opportunity to be able to basically tell the IRS, hey, I'm getting paid X amount of money for this service. But just keep in mind, whenever you're getting hired for a very specific role, the money that you're given isn't taxed. And so that's the thing when it comes to independent contracting, you get the money up front. Traditionally, whenever you're employed, you get taxed on benefits and all of these other Medi-Cal, retirement, and all of these other things get taken out of your paycheck. So whenever you are an independent contractor, those items don't get taken out of your paycheck, so you get all of the money up front. However, depending on how much, because this money isn't being taxed, it is something for you to consider at the end of the year when filing your taxes. Traditionally, if you have had a lot of side hustles, we have seen individuals having to pay money back to the IRS because, again, you have been doing a lot of side hustles and you've been getting paid and the money hasn't been taxed. And because you completed the W-9 and the 590 for these individuals that contracted you, the IRS knows that you've been earning an income. So making sure that you file your taxes to ensure that if you need to pay anything that you, again, pay the IRS, you never want to get into any trouble with the IRS. For those of you who may not already have an ITIN, I would highly encourage you all to apply for one because in the event that you want to be hired as a contractor because you already have side hustles or even be issued a stipend through a university, it's better to already have this ITIN established because it does take time. It takes time for the IRS to process your paperwork and issue you an ITIN. So we can go back to the first slide for the W-7. So this is the form that you would need to fill out in order to be issued an ITIN. And again, it takes time. It takes time, and depending on what time of the year it is, if it's tax season, it might take a little longer. So from my understanding, it traditionally takes at least 1 to 3 months. And again, it depends on the peak time of the IRS and what their processing times are. So I would highly encourage you to complete this form if you don't already have an ITIN. So that way, in the event that you ever want to be issued a payment, or again, you already have your side hustles that you do, for example, the ones that we gave about a DJ, you already have that in order to be issued payment, and you don't have to wait, because potentially it can delay any form of payment that it may have been provided to you. Again, you would have to wait for you would have to submit the paperwork, wait for your ITIN to be issued to you, and then go back and see if they would be able to, well, fill out the W-9 and the 590 in order for them to issue you payment, which again can cause a delay in your payment. So highly encourage you all to already have an ITIN registered to your name. If you have any questions about how to complete the paperwork, you can reach out to us, and we're going to refer you over to the CSUN VITA Clinic, because the CSUN VITA Clinic specifically works with students in helping them file taxes for free, but they're also informed on how to submit applications for an ITIN. And that's a resource that you have here on campus at CSUN that is completely free to you as a student and community member. So we would highly encourage you to visit the VITA Clinic for tax filing purposes. If you don't already have a tax filer, they can definitely help you out with that. But again, if you have any specific questions on ITINs, W-9s, and 590s, you can always reach out to us, and you can always ask the VITA Clinic as well, because again, they're very much informed on these documents, since they are specifically trained for tax preparation purposes. Can go on to the next slide. Okay, so now we're going to go over some employment/leadership opportunities that may be available to you both on and off campus. So on-campus opportunities, depending on when you're watching this recording, I want you all to keep in mind that the board of directors, so the USU board of directors, is an opportunity that is open to you that does not require a social security number, given that they issue payments via stipend. And all you would need to provide, again, as we mentioned before, is an ITIN number. And then they would have you complete certain the W-9 and 590 in order to be able to issue you the stipend. The board of directors does pay, if you're a board member, you get paid $200 or you get issued a stipend, I should say, not paid. You get issued a stipend of $200 per month. And if you're a board of directors committee member, you get $75 a month. So the board of directors is basically a governing group of students that basically develop or is in the needs of the students. So the University Student Union is funded through student fees. So the board of directors are always looking to make sure that our student fees are being used appropriately to serve students. Because at the end of the day, we are here to serve you. And so the board of directors is comprised of current students to ensure that students are being served and that the funds are being used appropriately to serve the students. So if you're interested in having a leadership opportunity like this on campus, and again, being more involved with student fees and knowing where your money is going and the services that are being made available to you at the University Student Union, I would highly encourage you all to take advantage of this opportunity. Applications are still open. They close this Friday, September 16th. So again, I want to be very specific on the date depending on when you're watching this recording. But know that there are very specific requirements in order for you to submit an application and be able to apply to be a part of the board or a committee. I would encourage y'all to visit our Dream Center Instagram, because we have a whole post that gives you details on what specifics you need to meet in order to be able to submit an application. Unfortunately, if this is your first semester here at CSUN, you wouldn't be able to take advantage of this opportunity. You need to have at least a semester at the university. But again, there's other requirements, and the application is available on the USU website. So I would highly encourage you to check it out. Maybe you can't take advantage of this opportunity this year or today, but maybe an opportunity that can be available to you down the line as your academic career continues at CSUN. Another opportunity that is available to students that don't have work authorization is the Nazarian College of Business and Economics Financial Empowerment Fellowship Program. Currently, it's not open yet, from my understanding, but I want you all to keep in mind that once it is open, if you're already a part of our email listserv, we're going to email that out to you all. If you're not a part of our email listserv, please send us an email, contact us, either send us a DM on Instagram or send us an email and just let us know, hey, I would like to be added to your listserv. And then after that, we'll send out the information so that way you can apply for this fellowship program. But again, this is for folks who are interested in providing services for tax preparation, where you would complete a certain amount of hours and you would be issued a stipend at the end of the fellowship. But again, once it becomes available, we will definitely send it out to you also. That way it's an opportunity you can take advantage of. Another one that we want to mention is the Career Center. So the Career Center has Handshake, and Handshake is what provides you opportunities both on and off campus. So some of those opportunities that are available on campus can potentially be converted into internships or fellowships. I would highly encourage y'all to check out their website and Handshake and look at opportunities that you're interested in, and making sure that go through the process of applying, as long as it doesn't say specifically that work authorization is required and that you need to be a US resident and or citizen in order to apply, because there are some opportunities that do require that. We usually see that more in the STEM field when it comes to federal agencies. Unfortunately, federal agencies, in order for you to even be able to enter a building, you need to be a US resident and or citizen. So as long as those opportunities listed on Handshake don't give those specific requirements, I would highly encourage y'all to submit an application and just go through the process. In the event that you get to the interview and they offer you a position at the end and they're asking you for a social, please contact us. Don't ever feel that you have to disclose your status if that's not something that you feel comfortable with. We can always reach out to them and ask them, is this something that we would be able to convert into an opportunity for a student who doesn't have work authorization. And that's something I really want to emphasize. Depending on where you are with your status, how comfortable you are, don't ever feel it's something that you need to disclose. It's definitely a conversation that we can start in the event that you don't feel comfortable. But if you feel comfortable talking about your status and asking these crucial questions, then I highly encourage y'all to do it. But again, if it's not something that is within your comfort level, or you feel, again, not that it would happen, not that I would say that I think it would happen in any way, shape, or form here on campus, in the event that you just don't feel safe, or feel that there might be some retaliation, again, just let us know. And it's definitely something that we can contact the specific department and see what we can do. But I want y'all to know that at some point your identity is going to have to be disclosed, obviously, because we're trying to make this opportunity available specifically to you. But know that it's never going to be used against you, and it is not something that should be used against you. And if that's something that that's a conversation we can have separately in the event that you feel that that's something that's taking place. But again, highly encourage y'all to look into these opportunities once they become available. Okay, so now we're going to go over some off-campus opportunities / side hustles that you can take advantage of.
The first one being the DREAM Service Incentive Grant, or DSIC for short. So DSIC is a program that allows students to do volunteer work for different organizations and get paid for it. So in order to be eligible, you do have to complete a California DREAM Act, and you have to make sure that you're receiving either Cal Grant A or B. If you don't know how to check like what grant are you getting, you can always come to our office and we can show you how to check that through your student portal. But you do need to make sure that you're getting Cal Grant A or B, or you are not eligible for the program, unfortunately. For those of you who do know how to check your your financial aid award and know that you are receiving the state university grant, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to take advantage of this opportunity because it is specifically only for folks who are receiving Cal Grant A or B. But for district, there's a list of nonprofit organizations around the LA area. There aren't many that are near the valley or CSUN. Most of them are in like the LA Basin area. But there is a way for you to request an organization to be put onto the list. But the application is pretty straightforward. There's 4 different parts. Part 1 is you would put your information like name and like your birthday and like an email. The second part needs to be signed by a financial aid advisor. And they need to sign it saying that you are receiving Cal Grant A or B and that you are eligible for the program. And then Section 3 of the application needs to be filled out by the organization that you'll be volunteering at. And you can always just contact the person who is on the list that the district has on their website. And they will sign off saying that you are going to be brought aboard as a volunteer and that they're going to be supervise you and signing off on your hours. And then Section 4 is just you signing and acknowledging that all the information you provided is true. So before you get to part 2, make sure that you completed part 1 and part 4, and then you could send that over to us and we can get that to Carla, our financial aid advisor. Another thing to also keep in mind is that you do need to complete 100 hours per semester to take advantage of the program and receive payment. And the hours cannot start before you've been approved. So you do need to get an email confirmation saying that you're all good to go and you can start your hours. Any hours started before that will not count towards the 100 hours. CSUN is one of the organizations on the list. So in case you're like in STEM or want to do research with a professor, you can ask them to sign off on your hours. But you do need to make sure that you are going to be able to complete the 100 hours per semester. If you're not able to complete the 100 hours, unfortunately, you won't be able to receive the payment from district. It specifically does say that you do need to complete 100 hours per semester. And the awards vary, but it's up to, I believe they give you 1,500 per semester. So that's 2,500 per academic year. And the program, you can take advantage of the program for up to 8 semesters as long as you are receiving Cal Grant A or B for those 8 semesters.
I also want to mention that this opportunity is unfortunately only available for undergraduate students. Sadly, it's not available for graduate students. So yeah, if you're interested and will have more questions about it, because it's a pretty lengthy process. The application can be a little daunting. Feel free to reach out to us, and it's definitely something that we can work with you and help you find a site that would, again, sign off on your hours. But the main thing would be to find the site and find somebody that would be supervising you, ensuring that your hours are being completed, in addition to getting it signed off by all of the appropriate entities. So touch base with us if this is a program that you're interested in and want to get more information on, especially if you already know that you do qualify for Cal Grant A or B. So moving on to obtaining professional licensing in California. So one of the things that I always like to mention is that in the state of California, you can obtain a professional license with an ITIN. So a social security number is not required. For example, we mentioned if you want to be an ASL interpreter, if you want to be a translator in the court, you would be eligible to receive your professional licensing as long as you have an ITIN. You can become a registered physical therapist through the state of California as well, again, through an ITIN. However, I do want to mention just because you are being allowed to be a registered license, obtain a license, doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to find a job in the field, because a license and being able to be, again, hired as an independent contractor and like be hired in different areas has different requirements. It's dependent on the company. Although I know we mentioned you obviously can be hired as an independent contractor in these areas, it varies. It varies per organization and it varies per opportunity. If you have questions about an opportunity that you already have in mind, again, reach out to us and we can definitely look into the specifics with you and try to figure it out. But again, not having a social security number does not prevent you from being able to obtain a professional license. And another thing that would be available to you is freelancing. If you want to do babysitting, tutoring, selling food, selling jewelry, these are opportunities that are also available to you. I know during our in-person presentation, we got a lot of questions on, well, what if I want to do an internship at a certain site? It depends. It really, really depends on how the internship site is planning to issue you payment, or if payments are available, right? If you're being paid for an internship and or fellowship, depending on how they're planned to issue you payment, depends if you can take advantage of it. If they're issuing you payment based off of again, formal employment, that can become an issue. But if they're issuing you a stipend, or the money is being transferred to the financial aid office at CSUN and it's being released to you through financial aid, then there shouldn't be a problem. It just really depends on the source of the funding and how the funds are going to be released to you. So again, keep this in mind whenever you're looking at outside internships and or fellowships outside of the university. Whenever they're internal to the university, there's a lot more wiggle room where we could potentially work with the financial aid office for you to be issued your stipend. And that's easy, right? You would just, well, not easy, but we would work with different areas on campus in order for the payment to be issued to you through the financial aid office. But again, when it's off campus, there's a little bit more to it. Sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not. So I want y'all to keep in mind that we'll definitely work with you and try our best to have these opportunities be available to you. But I want to be very honest that there's only so much we can do sometimes. In order for us to make these opportunities available, individuals need to be open to creating these pathways. And sometimes the pathways aren't available based off of their current infrastructure. But again, we're happy to provide any guidance. We're happy to provide any information to any of these entities that need it in order to be able to provide leadership opportunities for you. So if you have questions about specific opportunities, again, reach out to us and it's definitely something that we can work with you for. Something else that I want to mention is that during our in-person presentation, we mentioned TaskRabbit, Uber, and Lyft as opportunities that you don't necessarily need to have a social security number. So unfortunately, that's no longer the case. Given recent legislative changes in the state of California, in order for you to take advantage of Uber and Lyft and TaskRabbit, you would need to have a valid social security number, unfortunately. So they wouldn't be able to hire you or issue you payment as an independent contractor with just an ITIN. So unfortunately, these are recent changes within the last year. So unfortunately, it's not something that you would be able to take advantage of anymore. But again, there are other ways. There are other companies, or there are other ways for you to be able to continue on your side hustles and be an independent contractor, depending on the service that you're trying to provide. And that concludes our presentation. We hope that you got some really good beneficial information. If you have any questions about any of the information we provided, or if you have questions about a specific opportunity that you're interested in applying to or taking advantage of, but have questions on if this opportunity is available to you, please reach out to us. We are more than happy to help you go through the process and searching and asking questions. Again, don't ever feel that it is your duty to disclose your status if that's not something you feel comfortable with. We can always be the ones to reach out to the company and or organization or internship site, whatever the case may be, and see what would be available and ask those specific questions. So that way you don't have to put yourself out there for something that you don't feel prepared for. So feel free to reach out to us about any of the information, and we would be happy to provide some guidance.
Wait. I wasn't. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had. Wait, I lost my train of thought. Thank you for joining us on our non-DACA resources workshop. I hope you gain a lot of useful information. And like Daniela mentioned, if you have any questions or any opportunities that you guys want to know more about and see if you qualify, always feel free to come into the Dream Center or email us or call us, and we will look into it for you. Thank you.
Thank you.